right now, and it will be kindly hosted on the UG2 YouTube channel. So thank you, Georgia. Georgia will be presenting afterwards for letting us use your YouTube channel. I will not present Ego, and I will not present UG2 because these are specific presentations that will be done by people that know it much better than me. So we just present the webinars and the aims. It's directly inspired from the UG2 webinars. I don't know if you have already joined them. I have done. I have followed a couple of them, and it's very, very good. So I encourage you to join. There will be around 1 hour 30 sessions with a 10 minutes presentation from 3 to 5 speakers from all around the world. So today we have 2 French presentations, one person from Norway, one person from Italy, and one person very far away for us in Hawaii. So it's very early. So thank you for joining. And the topics are really open because as long as it's related to glider, it can be scientific, it can be technical, it can be anything. And we're trying to do it every 2 months in conjunction with the UG2 ones that are also every 2 months. So everyone can propose a topic, and you're even encouraged to, if you want to show your work. And it's a great place to show your work, interact, and learn from others. And if I go these slides, so just very quickly, today we'll have 2 parts. The first part will be on the global collaboration at global level, which is a title, but it's a bit reductive because the second part is not taken into account. Sorry for that. But the first one will be presenting Ego by Pierre. The second one will be presenting of UG2 by Georgia. And finally, Victor will present OceanGliders. And we'll take time for some questions after these 3 presentations. And in the second part, we'll have Ilker. I will do a longer presentation of everyone that will be presenting the activities of NorGlider and the structure of the Lofoten Basin Eddy from using the SWOT calibration and validation phase. And then to round up this session, Annunziata will present the cyclonic cones in the South Adriatic and in the Ross Sea. And here is the program. So that's all for me. I wish you a nice presentation. I will leave the floor to Pierre. Pierre, I'm going to show your slide. Is that how we proceed? So few words first about Pierre. Pierre Testor is a physical oceanographer at LOCEAN in Paris. He has been the first in Europe to deploy gliders in 2004, and he has participated in the scientific animation worldwide glider community since then. And his presentation is entitled The Everyone Gliding Observatories Ego Community. And now I just open the presentation.
Thank you very much for this introduction.
And I will go back to Zoom and share the screen. Okay. Go back to the first one. Is that good?
Yes, good. So next, I think.
The floor is yours.
Yes, so I would like to present a bit what is the community. The community is the Ego community, so it's really everyone's gliding observatories. It's a community that attend meetings, and that they are called Ego meetings. I would like to remind that this acronym, Everyone's Gliding Observatories, was somehow decided by a small group in 2005, and it's really chosen because somehow gliders are among the first robots, and it was a bit in line with the stories of Isaac Asimov about robots, and that would suggest somehow that the gliders will probably develop some kind of personalities as their intelligence will increase. So we have made the 8th EGO meeting in Rutgers, USA, about 4 years ago. And we're about to, we are organizing the next one in Sweden in June 2024. And it is really a wide community. Please, next. And that's the number of participants according to the meetings according to years. So you can see that it started about 10 people, but now, in 2005, but now we are reached a plateau at about 110 with some fluctuation according to the years. But it gathers a lot of participants from all over the world, Australia and so on, you can read. And it is important also, it's from science and technology communities. It means that we welcome gliders, sensor manufacturers and users, as well academy, industry, and they can present, discuss their results, progress and project. Yes. Next. So it's so we have set up a website and we monitor the audience since 2012. We have about 600 users, 128 institution teams. Some are zombies, clearly, but are not active at all. But there are some active users. And so there is the map. There is a unique dot per city once one guy from this city has visited the website. So there is about 100,000 visits since 10 years somehow. So good. The visits were probably a bit a higher number at the beginning, and then, but it's still some activity, as you can see on the time series on the bottom of the page. So it provides news, information about glider projects, data management, and also support tools and resources related to gliders. Next. EGO helps to create links between groups of national regional teams and to develop projects. This allows the coordination of ongoing research within gliders and the conception of future research, to build a capacity to operate fleets of gliders at the international level, interoperability. The general objective is to help develop cost-effective methods for the discovery and monitoring of the ocean at global, regional, and coastal scales, for the benefit of marine research, of course, but also operational application for marine activities and society. Next, please. So there are some proto-services, so there are resources on the website with documentation, links, things like that. But we have also what we call kind of proto-service, which is linked to metadata and data management. So there is a formula where you can register your glider and your deployments with, and you can fill all the necessary metadata that are required for data management afterwards, real time and late mode. We have also a piloting web interface that can be used to interact with manufacturers, softwares, and to have it to pilot that in a collective way, together with visualization tools. And also, it's really to help users who cannot really invest in software development, waiting for services that could be offered by future marine research infrastructures. Also, EGO has hosted and could host some community open source tools like Glider Simulator that was active at some point, or risk tool management. Next, please. So that's collective progress from many years. And it's here we have a map of the glider activity in 28 on the left, and on the right, 2019, sorry. So it's a lot of activity, the progress in 10 years. On the bottom, you have a record of the publications that are related to OceanGliders, and you can see we started with very few in 1986. This is only Stommel paper, and then it started around 2000, and we have reached now something like 100 or 200 publications per year. So we established a strong and organized international glider community. We promoted an intense glider activity, long-term observation and shorter studies, process studies, many collaboration, great results and publication. I hope we help to develop a shared vision, data management tools and best practices. And also we launched, it allowed to launch OceanGliders, the associated program of the GOOS, for global and sustained glider observation, and Victor will tell more about it. Next, please. To conclude, somehow, IGO, it's an international loose network, a wide community of users, encompasses all scientific, technological, and even legal aspects related to glider activities. Basically, it's only a website for basic coordination, a regular IGO conference. It's really loose. And other levels of coordination are necessary with different orientations, priorities, and also sometimes funding. And at the global level, we have OceanGliders. This one is very programmatic, associated to the GOOS, and targeted to the observation of essential ocean variables. So it's really limited in scope compared to what we can do with gliders in general. But it's very useful to get the visibility and for gliders in the GOOS. And also there are levels at regional and national levels. I use UG2 that Georgia will present. There is also in Europe what we call the Eurogools Gliders Task Team, on FOG in Australia, OceanGliders Canada. These are groups also that help for us to coordinate at different levels. Next, please. It will be my last slides. And join us to the 9th IGO meeting in June. It will be in Göteborg in Sweden. And the registration is open. So just have to go there. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will put the link. We will put the link in the chat directly. I can stop the sharing. Thank you, Pierre, for this great presentation. I see some one clap. Maybe you deserve more, but I propose to jump directly to the second presentation, and this one is from Georgia Coward, and she's originally from the UK, where she has achieved a master's in marine environmental management and a Bachelor of Science in marine vertebrate zoology. Her passion for the ocean began at an early age, and she has worked on a variety of ocean conservation projects throughout the Pacific and Indian Oceans over the past 10 years, which sounds nice. And earlier this year, Georgia joined the Center for Ocean Leadership at the University Corporation of Atmospheric Research as the Underwater Glider Program Coordinator. And she will be presenting Underwater Glider User Group, UG2, strengthening collaboration and resources for the glider community. Georgia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can I just check that you can see the screen okay?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Perfect. It's very early for me, so I haven't had enough coffee to do technology. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for the introduction. My name is Georgia Coward, as Yves said. I am the UG2 coordinator, so that's the Underwater Glider User Group coordinator. I am based in Hawaii in the US, and I'm going to share today briefly a little bit about the what, the who, the why of UG2. So the first thing is, what is UG2? So you can see the mission is listed up on the screen there, and this Underwater Glider User Group really came to fruition from a request from attendees at the first glider workshop in 2017. Now, this group of community glider users really emphasized the need to have this community coalition in order to exchange information on everything glider. So glider capabilities, scientific, operational accomplishments, challenges, lessons learned, data handling, and also additional opportunity areas for glider applications. This was a growing science, a growing field. So they really wanted to have a platform to communicate on their sort of achievements and challenges. And this proposed group would act as a galvanizing entity for the United States glider community, really to encourage that information exchange. So you can see, as I said on the screen, is the mission for the Underwater Glider User Group when it was established, which is to act as a community-based coalition that aims to bolster scientific collaboration and resource sharing for glider operators, data users, manufacturers, academia, and government agencies. And just to break that down a little bit further, so within that sort of broad mission of UG2, we've got some sort of key goals and expectations of it as a group. And as I said, the idea really was to develop this community to share those experiences related to glider activities, communicate those objectives, share those lessons and challenges, compare approaches, especially in terms of data formatting, data management, data frameworks. And then really importantly, also to help provide a platform to support ongoing communication and development of those sort of best practices within this glider network. And ultimately, this group would continue to serve and support the growing United States glider network. So I just want to mention that as a group, we really are primarily focused on glider work and operations that take place in the United States, but we work very closely in collaboration with the international groups and members, and we do really encourage involvement from international participants. I really strongly believe that what we are doing in the United States, how we're learning, what we're learning, really can complement other places as well. And we definitely want to learn those lessons from everybody as well. So how did we get to where we are right now? You can see that there's a timeline up on the screen that sort of showcases the evolving of UG2 from January of 2017 to this year. So as I said, UG2 was requested at that 2017 glider workshop to be formed as a community coalition group. The second workshop for UG2 was held in 2019 at Rutgers University in New Jersey. February 2020, the first part-time UG2 coordinator was hired. I'm sure many of you know Bill. I think he's on the call today as well. Fast forward a few months, July of 2020, the first steering committee was established for UG2. We're actually now on our second steering committee, and I'll talk a little bit about that at a later slide. October 2020, UG2 launched its website. It is still accessible via that URL listed. We are looking to do some revamp and sort of relaunch the website a little bit next year, but we will still be using that same web address. December 2020, UG2 webinar series was launched. This really was in response to the COVID pandemic as a way to bring that community group of glider users together still, and to still continue sharing that information and acting as a really good platform to do so. As was mentioned at the introduction, we have a webinar every 2 months. We've covered all sorts of topics from passive acoustics to looking more at the glider pilots. In November, we had a fantastic panel of women working with gliders as well, to sort of promote that element too. November 2021, the community discussion forums were created. So UG2 uses Slack as a channel, and it's really to sort of act as a very dynamic, fast-paced communication discussion forum for more of the day-to-day questions, comments, sort of sharing things, to keep things more up to date, I suppose. September 2022, the third UG2 workshop was held. This was held in Seattle by the University of Washington. And then finally, August 2023, I was hired, so very recently, as the first full-time UG2 coordinator. So it brings me really nicely to my next question that I get asked a lot, which is, well, who is UG2? So first and foremost, it really is made up of that community. So that community of glider users, operators, academics, tech specialists, managers, industry representatives, that community really is the foundation of UG2. I am the only full-time UG2 staff member to date. I am the coordinator, and really I'm just here to help guide and move things forward and really serve that community in the best way I can. I will just mention that I am housed at the Center for Ocean Leadership, University Corporation of Atmospheric Research here in the United States. My position is at this point fully funded by IUS, which is a national federal office with the federal government. And they fund the position really with the primary goal to strengthen that collaboration across regional associations in the United States, as well as that broader glider community. And then I just want to showcase some of the numbers here. I think it's a really nice way to put into perspective sort of the growth of UG2 since it was established. So we currently have just under 300 UG2 members. We've got almost 400 members on those community discussion forums that I mentioned. As I said, we've had UG2 webinars, we've had 14 to date. Our next one will be at the end of January next year. And then we've had 3 UG2 workshops. So our UG2 workshops really aim to continue to build on that established community and facilitate sort of ongoing coordination and communication and sharing of glider missions and work that's happening currently in the United States as well as internationally. It's a really great opportunity to bring this group together and sort of have that open dialogue and communication, and really just to share what's going on, and also raise any sort of key initiatives and outcomes we want for the following years. And we try very much to complement as well what's happening with the EGO workshops. I'm very excited about the workshop in June. I think it's a great way for these sort of 2 groups to complement each other and the work that's happening the US and internationally as well. There is a small graph at the bottom of that screen, which is really just to highlight the growth in the number of attendees that we've seen from the first workshop in 2017, where we had 90 people attend, to last year where we had 160. And then, as I mentioned, UG2 does have a steering committee. This is our second steering committee since UG2 was established. And really the steering committee leads UG2 by providing the vision, support, guidance in order to advance the sort of widespread active community of glider users to keep promoting that innovation and information and integration. I just wanted to put these up so you could see that we've really strived with our steering committee to have a good representation, to have a really diverse steering committee in terms of the sector that each member works in and also the geographic location that they are in, trying to encompass as much of the United States as possible. We also have an international member as well. And then each steering committee, we have several sub-focus groups, and they really are groups that meet and address challenges that we've identified. Often these groups are sort of formed following discussions and outcomes from previous workshops, and they also help to sort of recommend themes and everything for future workshops and webinar series as well. We have 4 for this steering committee term: data management, early career communication, which includes our Slack channels and also the website and potentially social media as well, and then a training group as well. So I've talked a lot about sort of where UG2 came from, what it is, who it is. I do just want to mention that we have some really exciting plans coming for next year for UG2. The first of which is a town hall at Ocean Science Meeting in February, which this year is being held in next year, is being held in New Orleans, in the United States. We have a great panel planned for that to really look at biological data that we are deriving from gliders and how we can incorporate that into ecosystem-based management. For those that are attending, please do come along. For those that can't, we will be sort of sharing key outcomes from that as well via our website and Slack channels. As I mentioned, UG2 hosts workshops usually every 18 months, which means that tentatively we are planning our next workshop for September. We're in the very early stages, so please look out for any updates on that. We are continuing to work to have more effective collaboration on those Slack channels. As I said, I'm here to help as much as possible with the community and facilitate those conversations. So I want to ensure that we're having the most effective collaboration that we can as a group. We are looking at revamping the website as well. Again, that's sort of following comments and needs that have come from the community of glider users, as well. And then something that's really sort of a big push for us because of one of those sub-focus groups I mentioned is some early career training opportunities. So please keep an eye out for any of those if you're interested in early career as well. And then finally, I think there was a question already asked in the chat on this Zoom call, but you can become a UG2 member, please do. You can join via the website there, or please do send me an email. Again, it's not just exclusively the United States. We are, anyone can join. And then we also have those UG2 webinars every 2 months. Those are shared and promoted via our Slack channels and our website as well. So if you follow those, you'd be able to see when the next webinars are. Slack, which is the UG2 discussion forum, that collaboration tool, you can get directly to Slack to join via that QR code or via the website as well. So that's everything from me. Thank you very much. If there's any questions, please also, as I said, do send emails if you have questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Georgia. It was very interesting, and also seeing that these two community-based, one more from or historically from Europe, and the other more from United States, how they complement each other, and how we can work more together. I think that the 2019 meeting was both UG2 and EGO. And we're starting these webinars together, and it's really nice to have some good collaboration, because there's obviously a lot of work that we can do together. And now I see that Victor is already ready, so it's perfect. We can jump to the last presentation from Victor. I have a small annunciation. So Victor Turpin is technical coordinator of the OceanGliders program at OceanOps. His background is physical oceanography, and he is involved in the coordination of the glider community since 2015. So I let you the floor, Victor, for your presentation, and after we'll take a few questions. Victor, you're muted.
Okay, sorry. I'm sharing again the screen. So, do you see the screen well?
Oui, c'est pas en grand. It's not in a slideshow. We can see diapositive suivante.
Okay, let's do like this if you don't mind.
No problem.
So that we don't lose too much time.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, sorry for that. So hi everyone.
Victor. If you look in paramètres d'affichage, you can probably change that.
Or if you want, I can share it.
It's up to you. But if that's okay like this, I mean, it's fine.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, let's go like this. Sorry for the technical problems. So hi everyone. I'm happy to present OceanGlider today, and also how OceanGlider is connected to EGO and UG2. So my talk is OceanGlider, the contribution to the global ocean observing system. But first, I want to talk a bit about the Global Ocean Observing System. Why do we need this? And I think what's really important to recall is that the GOOS,
Victor,
we call
just
GOOS,
one.
global.
Have you passed to the next slide?
Oh, yes, I did.
Okay, so maybe stop sharing and I'll
Okay,
share.
when you... Okay, thanks.
Okay, is that good right now?
Yes, I can see it. Okay, thanks a lot, Yves. Much easier. So why do we need the Global Ocean Observing System? This system, the GOOS, is providing a framework to share data, ocean data, in order to monitor changing ocean, obviously to tackle the new scientific challenges this change are raising, also to support the management of the threat related to these changes. And also it provides a framework to enhance some international coordination and cooperation, because these challenges cannot be solved by one single country. Can you go to next slide? Thank you. So just a few very quick recalling, but as you know, the human activity is making has a strong impact on ocean, and the two first major impact I really want to show is the one related to the ocean carbon flux. This change is global, and it's critical, and we'll see that later on the consequences to be able to monitor and understand this changing. This is becoming one of the priority for the World Meteorological Organization. Next slide. The second impact, I would say, or consequences of human activity is the ocean warming. And you certainly know that the vast majority of the extra heat is absorbed by the ocean, and it's stored in the ocean layer. And these two phenomena have very major consequences that I try to summarize in this next slide. And it's really quick, but all these, those two consequences of human activity and greenhouse gases is impacted ocean acidification, ocean change, oxygen the change of oxygen in the ocean that is impacting the marine food web, that is also obviously impacting the living coast, where most of people, many people rely on the health of the living coast. And at the same time, the global warming and the ocean warming has a strong impact on the extreme metocean event. And here you have some examples: the hurricanes, the marine heat waves, the coastal inundation are also will also increase and are also increasing due to ocean warming. So those are exemplars. There are many others that shows why we need strong cooperation internationally to deliver data, and why the GOOS exist. So can you go next slide? So now, who is the GOOS? The Global Ocean Observing System is supported by the IOC of UNESCO and the World Meteorological Organization. It's organized around three panels. The one I will be talking about is the physical panel, but there are also a biology and ecosystem panel and a biogeochemical panel. But I'm not expert on those, and I will focus on the physical panel now. This physical panel is regrouped under a board that is called the Observation Coordination Group, who's focusing on 8 different items that you can see here: the progresses on ocean observation, defining the need of the observing system, working on standard and best practices, on data management. OceanOps, the team I'm part of, is in charge of monitoring the activity and of those programs. And also we're working on metrics and capacity development, etc. Next slide, please. So you're all expert, and I will go pretty quick, but I just want to recall what are those networks. It's not only OceanGlider, but the first historical one will be the ship observing team, set up something like 170 years ago, not under the GOOS framework, obviously, but at that time they realized that cooperation between countries to share information on marine weather was absolutely critical for safety at sea. So this was the first international scientific cooperation initially. Next slide. You also have the drifting buoy cooperation program that is made of moorings and drifting and drifters that is covering also all the oceans. Next slide. And those previous one is providing met-ocean data. The GOOS program that you all probably know, decadal survey on specific line to track long-term changes in the ocean with the highest quality sensors and the best scientific team on board. Next slide. Another very important part of the GOOS is the Argo float program, 4,000 profiling floats, measuring the upper layer of the ocean from surface to 2,000 meters, extending to the bottom now, but that's a very important piece of the GOOS. Next slide. The Ocean Sites program is one of the elements of the GOOS, providing long-term time series on specific point with a high variety of sensors. Next slide. And something you may not know, it's the Global Sea Level Observing System Program, the GLOS, that is capturing the change in sea level in many places in the world. That is, this observation are very useful for many coastal applications like tsunamis or inundation, etc. And satellite calibration, by the way. Sorry. Next slide, thanks. A recent program is the Global HF Radar Network that is providing coastal measurement of sea surface current. And there's an array of probably 300, 400 radars across the globe. So it's really coastal. Next one. And the last one before the one we know is the one we will be talking about is the ANIBOS, sorry, the extension to the polar region of the GOOS led to welcome the ANIBOS program that is, as you see on the map, is a lot. Those instruments are deployed a lot in the polar regions. Next slide. And yes, finally, the OceanGlider program, the glider component of the GOOS. So OceanGlider is one of the program of those programs that is composing the GOOS. So it has been established in 2017. It's chaired by Brad de Jong for Memorial University in Canada and Pierre Testor. You have here a mailing list you can be part of. Just send me an email. So few numbers, it's 30 active countries since the last 2 years. It's 2,637 glider mission registered in the system. That means for all those missions, we know who is the PI, who is the agency operating, what are the sensors on board, is the data available on the repositories or not, etc. It's now 400 missions a year. The timeline you see below is the number of missions a year. So you see it's growing, it's continuously growing. So that's a really good sign for the program. The chart you see here is based on the number of missions, which is probably not the best indicator. I think we should switch to the number of days at sea. That would give a better view on the activity. But at least it gives you a vision of who's providing activity or mission, let's say, who's contributing, sorry, to the program. I see that the orange is, the pink is unclear, but the pink is Australia. And here you have a map of the latest mission over the last 12 months. So you see it's mainly Northern Hemisphere, and Europe and US is driving, but luckily we have Australia to balance that a little bit. Next slide. So what is OceanGlider? The OceanGlider program brings the marine scientists deploying glider from all over the world to observe the long-term, I bold this aspect, physical, biochemical, and biological ocean processes and phenomena that are relevant for societal applications. I think those are the two drivers of OceanGliders. It has to be long-term and for strong societal applications. You can access the terms of reference following this link. And here I like to put some targets for the program by 2030. 1,000 mission register following the OceanGlider and the GOOS requirements. That means free and unrestricted data, including in real time, metadata documented and available through OceanOps, data and metadata archived and citable, etc., etc. 300 glider operating permanently at sea. That would be a huge achievement for the program. 100 sustain line permanently occupied by glider. It's also something we are trying to progress toward. And 50 participating country would be a very good achievement also by 2030. Next slide.
A few more minutes.
Yes, so I'll be very quick. It's organized around the task teams, event-based task team, boundary ocean observing network, ocean health and ecosystem. A recent one is called passive acoustic monitoring, data management and best practices. Please reach out with those, the chair of the task team if you want to be part of it. Next slide. Obviously, I put some nice picture of gliders because we are totally inclusive and we don't discriminate about gliders. It's also the opportunity to say that probably in the near future, we'll have the petrel glider being part of the program. This is under discussion for the next, it's a discussion for the next steering team in June. So that would be very nice too, to have the Chinese activity. And last one, because I think it's very important to explain why, because we often hear that OceanGlider, UG2 EGO are the same things, and you need maybe to understand where it's overlap and where it's different. So here I put some bullet points. OceanGlider, UG2 and EGO contributes to the national and international coordination around glider. All of them, and that is beneficial for all of them. That's very important. The different focus of UG2 and EGO probably go beyond the OceanGlider scope. The relationship with industry, the funding, convincing the funding agencies, planning, logistics, services, etc., are not really part of the terms of reference of OceanGlider. UG2 and EGO integrate OceanGlider requirements that are also driven by GOOS requirements on data and metadata management and contribute to the best practice and SOPs. OceanGlider really focus on implementing the FAIR principle for all the data sets. This is not necessarily a priority for EGO or UG2. OceanGliders through OceanOps provide tools to the community to monitor the glider activity, the OceanGlider activity, implementation, performances, and data flow. And finally, we are in charge to report to the GOOS Observation Coordination Group, to the IOC, to the WMO, etc. So this is also one of our specificity. So that's my last slide. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. And I feel like now that we have 5 or 10 minutes for the questions, I can leave that slide that remembers that there are the 3 participants that have presented. And so if there is any question, please raise your hand and don't be shy. Because we are 77 in the room, there's normally at least 1 question. Or maybe it was just so clear that everyone has understood everything. I've understood the years of work in 30 minutes. Laurent?
Yes, good morning, everybody. So it's obviously all about the gliders, but in some way, gliders are only looking at the upper ocean, and we know all the challenges with exploring the deep ocean. And I wonder if in G2 or in OceanGliders or in EGO, how you envision the way that we could help well, for sure, a manufacturer, but also scientists to face this challenge. So explore the deep ocean with deep gliders. We know some have been navigating at University of Washington, but still it's a challenge. And I would like to have your opinion, Pierre and others. So.
Who wants to take it?
Start?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's clear that G2 and EGO are forum also for interaction with the manufacturers. And I guess we need the champions to lead projects that will use this deep technology to make it more available and reliable. So there is probably a lack of. I mean, it's good to have scientists to be aware that deep gliders exist and that they can be used in projects, but it's somehow a bit challenging to step into a technology that has not been so well proven as the shallower gliders. I hope we will stimulate that.
And if you have this, how do you, that's more for Victor, how do you try to implement it into the GOOS? Because if you have a new technology that's arriving, and I feel like to be endorsed by the GOOS and to be taken into account, you have to follow some very strict rules. And you were talking about the petrel glider from the Chinese. That's a lot of discussions to be approved.
So the GOOS requirements are pretty clear. Free and restricted data in real time, if this is possible. We do not integrate or welcome new. I mean, we do welcome anyone, but we do not integrate new partner without delivering this message. And we think that for the Chinese colleague, they really understood the message on free and restricted data. This is also available for all OceanGlider partners. Doesn't mean that by next year we'll see all the Chinese data, obviously, but it means that they enter the process of following the those requirements. So that's one point. The second point is related to data quality. Indeed, we need to progress on standard data quality for the gliders, the gliders data. This is general. I mean, we all provide data with a certain level of quality, but this is not standardized, and this is one of the axes of development of OceanGlider in the coming years. So this goes in the two directions: free and unrestricted, but also with a certain level of quality. And for the deep glider, to answer Laurent, there's not only the University of Washington, it's also what the Chinese colleague did in the branch of Marianne with deploying glider very deep. So this will be also a good opportunity to discuss this with them when they integrate the program.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry to continue. I ask that because we saw in the transition between the Argo legacy program and the One Argo program how strong was their message about when one single program embracing both the surface and the deep ocean, the physics and the biology. So that's a message that we could also try to include in OceanGliders. I know that's not the same problem, but still, I think it's a challenge we should address in the coming years. Thank you.
Victor?
Yes, just to comment quickly, that's true. The good thing is with the gliders, we already have the biogeochemical part. Since the beginning of the program, the gliders are equipped with 4 of the 6 sensors, the full Argo BGC float. Yes, 4 of the 6 Argo BGC floats, full Argo BGC float. So I think we let's say that we only have to tackle the depths to do like Argo. Also, I want to emphasize the fact that going deep with Argo has a huge cost that is not covered yet. So the challenge is still there, not only in the open ocean with Argo, but also with OceanGlider to measure the depths.
Thank you, Victor. I would just like to add that there is also the surface vehicles that are emerging, and like the Ego network, like UG2, there is the Oasis that is trying to form a community, and they're also hosting a series of webinars. I can put the link in the chat. So it's nice to see this community with a lot of similarities with us growing up. And maybe if any of the presenters want to have a last word, and then we can jump to the second part because time is flying and it's a very dense. Maybe the next one will be less dense webinar. So if you want a last comment, or we can jump to the following part. Victor.
Yes, last comment is about recalling about the meeting in June. It will be the first meeting since
2019.
Long time, I would say, 2019. Even though we had a very nice meeting in the US, but it was probably the Paris Saint was very much in the US. So please join. Propose some abstract. The call is open, and if you have ideas of breakout sessions or workshops, there will be time during the meeting to organize those. So do not hesitate to send a message to Wille and me about this. Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot.
Wonderful. Then we can jump to the next topic. We're moving from really community-based and not abstract, but very very big things to more hands-on and operations and science discussions. So we'll have a presentation now from Ilker Fer. He's a professor of physical oceanography at the Geophysical Institute of the University of Bergen. He's leading the NorEMSO research infrastructure, which is the Norwegian node for the European Multidisciplinary Seafloor and Water Column Observatory, and the NorGliders, which is the Norwegian National Facility for OceanGliders. His research interests cover meso to small scale processes in physical oceanography, with a specialized attention to high latitude ocean mixing and turbulence, and atmosphere ocean ice interaction. And his presentation is activities of the Norwegian gliders, NorGliders, and the structure of the Lofoten Basin Eddy from gliders during the SWOT calibration and validation phase. So Ilker, the floor is yours, and we can see your desktop.
Trying to move forwards. Thank you very much for the introduction. So can you see my presentation mode?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm on tight schedule. I squeezed in 2 talks into one. So let's hope I can do this in 10 minutes. Right, so first part is activities about the NorGliders, the Norwegian Glider Facility. The second part is more on the science, on the structure of the Lofoten Basin Eddy, measured by the gliders during the SWOT calibration validation phase. So I'm Ilker at the University of Bergen. Got support postdoc Gillian Damrell here, and a research collaborator Anthony Bosse, and SWOT science support Louise, and our glider technicians Fiona Elliott and Eileen Brackstad. So very brief about the NorGliders. I wanted to introduce this to the community, so that's all yeah, taken care of. So the adventure started back in 2009 when we procured 3 slocums, generation 0-ish. And then Professor Peter Hogan here has started the infrastructure called NACO. Then they acquired the 6 sea gliders and established the glider lab, which then I took over around 2017, established this facility as a NorGliders facility that could provide service to various projects. Later on, we acquired the slocum through SIO's infrastructure and from national funding, and NorEMSO project 5 slocums. And at the moment, I think after some losses, we have 6 slocums operational and 4 sea gliders operational. This is a family picture of some of the slocums we had at the time when they were all on land. So NorEMSO is the Norwegian node of EMSO. So it's still a project. So when I refer to glider activity in NorEMSO, that should be taken as the project activity we are continuing, not necessarily a formal part as gliders in the EMSO ERIC. So that's under discussion, the gliders' role in EMSO. However, we do have a glider program in the Norwegian node, and you can watch the promo video and the link over there. So we have the warm Atlantic water coming into the Nordic seas. You see the Nordic seas map. And this, so we try to observe the water mass transformations and the physical oceanography of this region by putting in 2 rechargeable gliders in the Svinoy and Gimsoy sections. This section 1 is the Svinoy section covering this warm branch, and section 2 here is the Svinoy section. Gimsoy section. We turn them around maybe 4 times a year. They can be, recharged and deployed within 24 hours. The other 3 sections are endurance sections, which we operate over 10-12 months time scale, and all these gliders are simply CTDs. we established a national team of 9 pilots, 4 from my university, 3 from Institute of Marine Research, 2 from the Norwegian Polar Institute. So we have a system that we can run this 24/7 and have a nice portal for data visualization and piloting. And we typically operate close to the ice edge and sometimes very briefly under sea ice. So NorGliders then is an umbrella that covers different projects, including the NorAMSO activity. So this is the recent activity of the entire NorGliders. From 21-ish, and also I added the 2018 when we operated north of Svalbard. You can see the coverage in different years, from the Barents Sea down to Svínoy and Greenland and Iceland seas. And the time occupation here is showing that occasionally we have multiple gliders in water. So that's a good capability we've been trying to maintain in the last few years. So the sites on the y-axis, time on the x-axis, and the colors are different missions. Svínoy rechargeable has been the most occupied one, followed by Gimsøy. And the arrow here is the ongoing mission. The ongoing missions on the map are black here. Okay, not shown are in a freshwater influenced fjord. Actually, it's shown by this blue dot here in Norway, just below Norway. We've been operating using a thruster, a mission in Baffin Bay, west of Greenland, and a turbulence glider in Med Sea in the BioSWOT program, and a turbulence glider in Fram, somewhere up here. So we've been quite active in the recent years. Some achievements specific to the NorAMSO project is those red tracks on the map here, since 2020. So we've been doing 17 rechargeable missions, 8 endurance missions. We established the near data delivery to Coriolis Copernicus that's running pretty smoothly, and operational models routinely assimilate data from our gliders. And we built a nationwide expertise and a team that can operate this. There are some detailed numbers here. I don't have time to talk about this. My next topic is the Lofoten Basin Eddy, some science we got from that. I have to introduce what that is first. So this is some historical data now from 2016-17 when Anthony Bos worked on this project as a postdoc. We did several missions of gliders occupying this Lofoten Eddy in the Lofoten Basin here. So this site is very energetic because of the 2 branches of the Atlantic water here. The heat is distributed laterally in the basin. There's a deep mixed layer, this 500-meter isoline here is the mixed layer depth. And you see the heat content increased here. That's primarily due to the heat being expelled by eddies transported into the basin. And in the middle, we have the long-lasting, quasi-permanent Lofoten Basin Eddy. It's energetic. It sticks out on the satellite-based EKE maps. There's some signature on chlorophyll A, not particularly exciting on this map, but good to show that. In the numerical models, for example, the Rossby number sticks out as this anticyclone here. That's the Lofoten Basin Eddy, and a very eddy-rich region, this basin of the Norwegian Sea. So we're going to focus on that. And why is that? That's because maybe I'll introduce this first. So this is an example to introduce the eddy to you. And it transects in wintertime in December 2017, I think. And you can see the passage of the glider through the eddy and this low PV water. The bottom panel is the potential vorticity, Ertel vorticity here. You can see 2 core structure of the eddy and lots of details here I don't have time to talk about. But there's a deeper than 1,000-meter eddy there, and that's quite persistent, as I'll show you on this movie, which has a bunch of floats at different depths, and the glider tracks going in and out as a time map. I don't know if I'm assuming it will run smoothly on your platform. There's a 30
Works
kilometer.
perfectly.
Oh, great. So there's a 30-kilometer radius for reference. You are following the center of the eddy. It's moving around in the basin because of the bowl shape and the dynamics associated with it. The gliders coming in and out, and you can see the Ruffles floats at different depths being trapped inside the eddy in the dynamical core for extended amount of time. And toward the end of the period, the shallower floats would be expelled from the eddy because the PV constraints are relaxed. But that's an introduction that you have something living there, something constrained in its position. And very luckily, let's move on. Right there at where the eddy is located, there's a crossing of the small SWOT tracks. So that gives very high resolution data then in time and in space in the calibration and validation phase of the SWOT, which was like April, May last year, or this year. So I'm not going to introduce what SWOT is. I'm assuming now people are familiar with this, but at the back of this map, you can see the traditional, like altimeter-based CMAMS product of the, say, absolute dynamic topography, and the SWOTs of the SWOT and the nadir. You can see the higher resolution capability we can get from that. The red part here is the Lofoten Basin Eddy. So we coordinated our glider with the SWOT paths. And typically we have 2 crossings close to midnight and a few hours after midnight, which provides for a nice map. So we have that, and I'll talk about the example of an eddy merger. What is that? And that was like inferred from that happens in the, say, the model world. This is some examples from the ROMS simulations by Marta Trudal. It's 800-meter resolution. At the top, you see the, so these are relative vorticity at 400-meter depth. Anticyclone Lofoten Basin Eddy is this blue event here. That's always there. And another eddy is approaching it, and it's being swirled into the bigger eddy, and it's consumed by it. In the lower one, an eddy approaches the Lofoten Basin Eddy again, and now it's not consumed, but it pushes the main vortex outward in this dynamical system. And in 3D, it looks something like this. This is the dense color is density in an isovolume constrained by 2 × 10⁻⁵ vorticity. That's the main eddy, and a shallower anticyclone is coming in, and it just swirls into it, and the eddy consumes completely. So this is happening dynamically, and I think we have an observation of that from SWOT. In the quick movie, you will see. So
few minutes, Ilker. Sorry.
Yep. So you'll see the SWOT paths. The gray is the glider track. The green is the glider location on that day at the title here. These are like daily maps of absolute dynamic topography. That's the eddy itself. And let's play this. You see in the early in the simulation or the video, the observations, you see a blue patch here next to the main eddy that's being consumed into the main eddy, and the glider is going in there sampling data. Maybe snapshots show it better. Here's the outer eddy that's being sucked into the big one, the merging event, and we have lots of detailed observations supporting that. Inside the water column, you have the main eddy and a signature of the outer eddy, and after some time, that signature is mixed into the main eddy itself. I have to finish up very quickly. The temperature salinity structure clearly shows the outer eddy, and that's visible in the dynamical parameters, including the potential vorticity, and we clearly see this low PV water expelled from the core. It must be induced by this outer eddy being taken into the main eddy. And this signature is gone a few days later in the second realization of this eddy sampled by the glider. There's still a signature of the upper layer vorticity, but so it's pretty much merged completely. Okay, I'll stop there. I'm sorry I had to rush through many details.
Sorry, I could have listened to you for hours because it's very, very interesting and very impressive. Next time we'll maybe try to have more time. We'll switch very rapidly to the last presentation, and we'll maybe have time for a few minutes for the ones that have a bit more time. So just a small introduction. Nunzia is originally from Italy. She became passionate about the ocean during her doctoral studies at the University of Notre Dame in the USA. And from the beginning, her research was mainly focused on in situ data collected personally from research vessels in the Indian and Pacific Oceans. And her current research interests focus on meso and sub-mesoscale dynamics in the Mediterranean Sea and Antarctica, as well as extreme events such as marine heat waves and medicanes. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes, it's perfect. And
Perfect. So thank you so much for the introduction and for inviting me. So today I'm going to talk about the cyclonic cone in the South Adriatic and in the Ross Sea, and particularly the formation mechanism during some mixing event. Part of this work, we go to the second. Can you see the second slide?
No, it's still on the first one.
Yeah, I see to the first one. Oh, here. Okay. So part of this work has been published last year on JPO, in which we analyzed the convection in the South Adriatic, in the pit in the Adriatic Sea, where we, during a glider survey, we observed this nice feature that we called cone A, B, and C. And so we tried to investigate what these cones are, and the motivation starts from a laboratory experiment from, okay, I can get rid of this. No? Okay, I'll put here. So the motivation starts from a laboratory experiment from Marshall back in the 90s, where he simulated a mixing event, putting ice on top of a mixed layer. When this ice was melting, he produced the buoyancy flux, a negative buoyancy flux, so the mixing and formation of small convective cells that we call plumes. The column of the water got homogenized, and by the time all the ice was melted, the water column within the water column start to form some cone. In this case, we have only two cones, the first one and the second one. Back in the 1940s, here. Back in the 1940s, Max Worthy also realized that these cones can form only when the mixed layer depth is less than water depth H. Because when the mixed layer depth is greater, equal or greater to the total water depth, you don't have the formation of several cones, but only on one big truncated cone. So how does this mixing process work? Well, when you at the beginning have the buoyancy flux, the negative buoyancy flux, the water column here start to mixing, to churning, and to form the convecting plumes. After some point, when a rotational length or H1 is reached, or when we are on a time scale greater than 2 pi over f, the water column start to feel the rotation of the Earth. So Coriolis comes into play. Baroclinic when the baroclinic instability is fully developed, the water column try to adjust, the isothermal, isopycnal, wherever, start to tilt and to form, and the formation of the cones occur. At the surface here on your right, you see how the convective area, so the area where the mixing occurs, It's kind of circular at the beginning, but then when the baroclinic process is full set, there is a loosening of the shape, and here you see how it's irregular at the surface, while at the behind this, so on the bottom, you have several cones, convective cones that form, and experimentally has been also found that the diameter of the cone is dependent from by the buoyancy flux, Coriolis, and dimension of the water depth and of the convective area. So back in 2018, we had a glider field campaign, as I said, in South Adriatic, monitoring the Bari Dubrovnik transect. Actually, we do every year. We monitor the preconditioning in the preconditioning phase and the convecting phase. This year also we had a survey. We just recovered the glider, and back in 2018 we had kind of around 100 kilometer large the convective area, and I will show you only 2 transects of that field campaign. In particular, the first transect from Bari to Dubrovnik, where was January 30 up to January 1st, the first transect. And here you see the potential temperature, how the cone A is well developed within a mixing layer, the B1 as well, the cone C started to form, while on February 1st, you see an homogeneous layer here up to 500 meter, and the DAC also show the formation of the cone B. This is a cyclonic cone here, and a cyclonic activity in this part here. On the way back, on your right, from Dubrovnik to Bari, cone A and cone B looks like that, so are almost gone, while cone C, that was forming on January 31st, on February 1st is fully developed. And on February 1st, the homogeneous layer, after 4 days, you see inside start the tilting of the isotherm, and so formation of this cyclonic cone, in particular cone D and cone E. If we also compared with the reanalysis data back on January 10th, when the mixing process started, you see how the situation is like this in the SAP. These are data sea surface temperature, and this is a section, the same glider section. So you have depth and distance here on your right, on the x-axis, sorry. And on January 23, formation of 4 water column, homogenized water column occurs at around 300 meters. And the day after, January 24, within these 4 homogeneous patches occurs the cone A, B, D, and E. January 24, January 29, they are much more developed, and the reanalysis match pretty well the gliders data. See how nicely the isotherm 14.16 Celsius outcrop at the surface for cone B, which was the most developed one we were able to capture by glider, and up to around 600 meters. And then there was the restratification phase. Somehow there was a water intrusion from this side here that caused the break of cone A, the bending, the break of cone A and cone B. And this was the situation here. This is convective area, and you see how it was unstable, this area, like the simulation I showed you at the beginning from the theory, and the cone only appears within this area. So very quickly, I also want to show you some preliminary result from the Ross Sea. We had a field campaign around 8 days back in the January 2020, where unfortunately it was very short. And here is the track. So the glider was deployed at this point, close to the open ocean, and went through the Ross ice shelf. And these are really preliminary data that we are planning to investigate more. And temperature and salinity plot, and you see how from salinity it looks like we have the same feature. So homogeneous water column in this case is 50 meters depth, and this nice cone inside, one over here, one over here. Also in temperature we can see the same thing, but the salinity is much more clear. We looked at the chlorophyll signature at the surface from January 16 up to 20, and you see how there were some spot of chlorophyll along the glider track. This is January 19 and 20, and the glider was here. And the cone, they were detected on January 20, January 21st, this first one here. And we had chlorophyll up to here on January 20 here. So probably the chlorophyll means that there was a mixing before. So there was the mixing, chlorophyll occurs. And within the mixing area, we have this cyclonic cone. And by the way, I didn't mention that at the surface you have, at the surface or within the mixing layer depth, you have cyclonic cone, but for the conservation of the momentum, you at the bottom you have anticyclonic. And you see here, it's nicely the downwelling here and upwelling here, and the same here, upwelling and downwelling. I'm trying to work on the mixing, trying to show that before the cone occurs, we had mixing. Unfortunately, wind data, they do not support this. And I was just looking at the Ekman pumping and see how the positive value means that there was upwelling. So this is for January 21st, this, and January 22nd here. It seems nicely to confirm that this was an upwelling area. So back to the South Adriatic, we know from floats and communities knows that salinity is increasing a lot. So if salinity increases, the mixed layer depth change. And the question is, will this mixed layer depth increasing affect the mixing mechanism? Because this cone can be seen only when there is a no bottom reaching event. So how about the other areas like Gulf of Lyon? We know the convection was up to the bottom, but from 2013 there was a switching from no bottom, to no bottom reaching event. And this was an input for a collaborative work with all convective people I called, so from France, Ilker as well, Southampton, to investigate the different scaling associated with latitude, with the bottom and no bottom reaching convection. How about the stratification in the preconditioning phase? How about the atmospheric part? And so we're just having a meeting every month or two, trying to have this larger paper together and to see what anomalies, what different can be found at different latitude. So this was my last slide, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much. Very, very, very interesting.
Thank you. Let me, I want to stop sharing. Okay.
And it's a shame you did not have more time, both of you, to present.
Yeah, we will present at the conference.
Perfect.
In next June.
Nice. Perfect.
Please come.
We have time for 1 or 2 questions. Can take time. I see clapped hands. Are there raised hands? I see Ilker.
Yeah, great observations. Thanks a lot. I was wondering, in your early slides, you had one passage and then the return passage that you identified cone ABC. I was wondering how you are so certain that what you call C is not B that is developed.
Yeah, We use the reanalysis data. I mean, I didn't show all the picture I had, but yeah, that was we were struggling with this because we wanted to be sure. So reanalysis data at the surface and in depth helped us to say that we were always looking at the same cone and we didn't mess up the different cone. Yeah. And this was also a reviewer question.
Ah,
Thank you.
not me.
I know, you were not.
Nice. Is there a second one? Or everyone is Laurent.
Laura.
Yes, maybe more a comment than a question. So it's very nice to see. Well, the Lofoten Basin is not a convection, full convection area, I guess. So you will tell me, but it's how these exercise in the Gulf of Lion, the South Adriatic, and other areas meet also with one of the task team in OceanGliders. So I would say the next step, since these areas are so important for the thermohaline circulation in the basin, the Med Sea, or even globally, that we will go from process studies oriented experiment to more sustained surveys in this area, which are absolutely key for understanding how the basin and the global ocean will evolve with global warming. So a kind of matching of interest between process-oriented studies and the OceanGliders objectives. So thank you very much from the OGS group for doing this. So in continuing this effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, Laurent, this is kind of a wrapping comment linking the two parts. So if there is no other question, I think that we're just right on time. And not much question, but there will be time at the conference for that. So I would like to thank all the speakers. Really thank you for accepting. And the webinar was registered. It will be on YouTube. It will be on the YouTube channel. I think that I can share the presentations. If you want them, just contact me. Send me a mail and I will send you the presentations. I don't know really how we're going to do it. It's just the first one. If a lot of people are interested, we can put them on the website. It's the first one, and there will be other webinars. We'll have one in February, and UG2 will have one in January. Georgia, if you want to put a word, it's time to advertise it rapidly.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're planning a webinar at the end of January, probably the 25th. There's more information to come, but it's going to be focusing on the early career demographic. So please keep an eye out for Slack and email updates. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And don't forget to register to the 9th EGO conference, the IUGC, I'll never remember, conference in Gothenburg in June, and we'll meet in presence because meeting on Zoom is nice, but in presence is always better. So thank you all for coming, and have a nice evening or day or whatever time it is where you are. And we were up to 80%, so it's really nice to see it. So it's really motivating for the future. Thank you.